Good morning. My name is Dr. Whitney Mead. I am an assistant professor at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. My area of specialty is autism, behavior disorders, and children who have complex learning needs. And so briefly this morning, I'm going to give you a little information about the assistive technology or the augmentative technology that we utilize for children who are demonstrating either impairments in speech or lack of speech development. Early in a child's development, if we are between birth and 6 months and we don't see a child shifting eyes, turning head, or looking to respond to a caregiver, then we would immediately want to pursue some kind of hearing assessment to make sure that we don't have a lack of hearing or an impairment in the hearing. By 1, we should see kiddos that are making eye contact, that are looking towards their caregiver, that are starting to babble, to make sounds, to try to put things together, to try to communicate their wants and needs. And then if by 1.5, 2 years old, we don't have a kiddo that is saying a handful of clear, what we call intelligible words to their caregiver, or they're not trying to put words together to communicate needs, then we need to start the process to evaluate whether or not they need an alternative format for communicating. And when we talk about augmentative or alternative communication, we talk about low tech, medium tech, and high tech. So the first thing I'm going to show you is what low tech would look like. Low tech would be something as simple as what we call picture symbols, and there is a hierarchy within the picture symbol world. We would start with real objects, then we would move towards real photographs, then we would move to picture symbols such as these, and then we would move towards the written word. And so a very young child is going to be a very concrete learner, so they're going to still be using objects and photographs, whereas when we reach 3, 4, 5 years old, we would be immediately starting to utilize the picture symbols because these are more universal to every learner. Now, as we begin, we will use these pictures in single items, so just one picture to exchange to communicate an item. As we get a little older or a little more progressed in our skills, we would use what we call picture boards. This is another example. This one is a flip book. So we would start with one category and then we would be able to open it up to have another menu of options. Being able to utilize a single symbol and then making the progression to making choices off of a choice board and then a menu leads to the next skill required to use a medium tech device. A medium tech device would be something along the lines of, this is a Go Talker. This is considered an augmentative communication device in that it talks for you. So the child, we would put a picture or a picture symbol in one of the squares, the child would squeeze the square, and the device would communicate audibly for the child. Now this is called a 4-square talker. We can move up to a 32-square talker, and the way that we use these is there are grids like this. We put the picture on the grids and then the grid slides into the device, and it works the same way as the 4-talker. When the child smashes the picture, the device will talk for the child. Now, when the child has mastered using something like that with a controlled grid, then we can move on to something that's more complex. This is a Tobii Dynavox Indie, and it is a voice output device, and so I can actually
Stop. Helping.
And within this, I can choose different pages of symbols. So let me see if I can change the screen a little bit. And I can actually make whole sentences if I want to, and I can control how much the device says at one time. It can say single words as I push the buttons, or I can tell it to wait until I've completed a thought and then it will speak for me. So just so you know, these symbols are made with a program called BoardMaker, which is a few $100s for access for a whole year. We get a little more advanced when we buy these products. We're talking about, you know, $100 for a set of 4 or 5 grid books. Then we start moving into these devices, and they're anywhere from $75 to a few $100s. When we move into a device such as this, we're talking about anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 depending on the complexity of the device. A Tobii Indie is on the lower end, and it is about $3,000. So we try to start with low tech, be sure the student can use it efficiently before we move to something that's much more expensive. If you have questions, please let Madison know and she will get me in contact with you. Thank you very much.